We are the robots of ourselves. We are autonomous, free-willed, sentient, purposeful, intelligent, biological robots living our lives in a simulation programmed by our brains. And when we understand how our robots work, we can operate them more effectively to improve our lives and achieve our goals. We become able to formulate more reasonable and positive goals and correctly evaluate the cost benefits of achieving them. So in this deep reality talk, we'll explain how our robots work and the secret to operate them effectively. We are our robots in the sense we are complex computational systems designed to operate according to the instinctual imperatives transmitted in our DNA from our parents. So we are the running programs of ourselves. We share the basic functional design of all robots, including the electronic robots we create. However, we are biological robots designed by eons of evolution based on the fundamental rules of the complete fine-tuning that govern the universe. Our programs are incredibly complex. We consist of billions of simultaneous computations, from those of all our individual elementary particles, cells, tissues, organs, and homeostatic systems, up through our brains and nervous systems. We are this wonderfully designed computational system in its entirety, continually computing our existence. We are the living robots of ourselves, and we remain fully human. Fundamentally, we are the emergent structures of the continual interactions of all our elementary particles. And it's only because our elementary particles have the organization they do that we emerge as ourselves rather than a stone, a baboon, another person, or anything else. Our computational design is the cumulative result of eons of evolution of living beings. Simply because certain designs were better able to function and survive within their environments, they were the ones that passed on their designs to successive generations. Thus, the design of our robot has been honed by evolution to function effectively within its environment. And here we are, the living biological robots of ourselves, operating autonomously within our environments, and even improving our environments to improve our lives. Now, the basic systems design of electronic and biological robots is quite similar. Even though the hardware is very different, they must have the same basic functional design to operate effectively in the same real world governed by the same laws of nature. Even details like self-awareness and consciousness are ultimately just a matter of the number and organization of feedback circuits. Thus, the design of our robots is the same basic systems design for any successful autonomous organism and is used to design electronic robots as well. In order for a program to act purposefully, it must encode the elements of its environment, its purpose within its environment, and how to affect that purpose within its environment. Thus, living organisms are characterized by purposeful control systems that sit atop the computational system of their biological body to control its behavior. These control systems are encoded in the brains and minds of biological organisms. The functional components that enable an organism to operate autonomously and purposefully include the following systems. The boot-up system is the basic firmware encoded and passed in DNA to new organisms as they're created. It contains the code used to construct and maintain the body and operational system of the new organism, which are effectively its hardware and software. The instinctual imperatives are also encoded and passed in DNA. These are the fundamental rules that encode the purpose of an organism and guide its actions. All organisms are born with the instincts necessary for them to survive. The only way this is possible is for those instincts to be encoded and passed in DNA from generation to generation. This is an obvious insight from the computational perspective of deep reality that appears to have been totally overlooked by evolutionary biology. The basic instinctual imperative is to generate actions that result in feedback the organism evaluates as positive and avoid feedback it evaluates as negative. Operationally, this translates into a hierarchy of instincts, primarily those of survival and procreation. Under survival are the instincts of eating, drinking, and avoidance of predators and personal injury. Species specifics include suckling and bonding with mothers in baby mammals, quickly learning to walk and run in newborn herbivores, nest building in birds, and seeking the sea in newly hatched sea turtles. There's also a vast range of species-specific instinctual mating behaviors that produce feelings evaluated as highly positive in the organisms that have them. Some instinctual imperatives like suckling and mate-seeking are age-dependent and together define an organism's purpose at all stages of its life. Conflicting instincts tend to override another when valuated higher, as in male-male fights over mating privileges, when avoidance of injuries overrides the desire to mate. Instinctual imperatives are largely fixed, but putting them into action generally involves complex, intelligent behaviors. The data input system is the sensory and perceptual systems of an organism that receive data from external sources and from internal feelings. The data input system functions as tuned antennae and perceptual filters to extract information of potential value to the organism from the huge mass of raw data in its environment. These systems are especially tuned to detect motion, predators, prey, and other food sources, and family or group members from the background. They involve extensive pattern recognition to organize sensory input into things, processes, and dimensional relationships. It includes recognizing the meanings in animal cries, behaviors, odors, food tastes, and in humans. It also includes the pattern recognition of written words and symbols. This information is then presented to the control system for processing. The control system is the central operating system that coordinates and runs all the other systems. It continually updates data storage memory with new data input and translates plans to actions on the basis of valuations in furtherance of the instinctual imperatives. The control system is massively parallel and mainly operates at the unconscious level. The simulation is the organism's internal data model of itself within its environment, and is continually updated on a microsecond scale to reflect ever-changing conditions. This is the stored data memory of an organism. It consists of short-term memory, the data of the conceptual present moment, working memory, the data being used to compute current computational processes, and the long-term memory, the archive of historical data. Data is generally stored in organized information structures in the form of things, characteristics, relationships, processes, actors, actions, and events. It includes the information of the internal concept of self within the external world. The underlying organizational principles of this data are stored in the form of the underlying rules by which the world and its actors and processes are perceived to function. These rules constitute the logic of things by which organisms understand how they and the world operate at the classical scale. It also includes the belief systems and worldviews that organisms view the world in terms of, often at the expense of accurate knowledge. Knowledge is the internal consistency of a simulation over the broadest possible scope. We have no direct knowledge of external reality, but we can test the accuracy of our simulation of reality through its internal consistency over the widest possible scope. A computational universe must be logically consistent, so an accurate simulation of it must also be logically consistent. And if actions computed on the basis of a consistent simulation also produce expected real-world results, that confirms the accuracy of knowledge in the simulation. The learning system continually reorganizes the data input and storage systems and attempts to improve the richness and logical consistency of relationships by extracting, analyzing, and updating their organizational principles. The learning system is especially important during childhood, as it constructs the entire simulation from the ground up from experience. It also enables the organism to continually learn and improve its understanding of the underlying logic of things by which the simulation appears to operate. However, there are limits to how much the simulation can be improved by the learning system, since beliefs formed during childhood are often resistant to facts. The emotive system generates excited emotional states of various tonalities in response to circumstances evaluated as important. Adaptively, this system is designed to energize appropriate responses to important situations. However, if negative situations can't be resolved, the emotive system may become maladaptive, leading to anxiety and depression. The valuation and meaning system continually assigns meanings to data relative to the organism and evaluates them against instinctual imperatives and possible actions. This prioritizes situations and possible responses. The planning system imagines and projects future states and different possible actions within them. It plans actions based on prioritized meanings and valuations among imagined possible situations and actions and their probable effects. This involves intelligent analysis and decision-making based on the logic of things. Now, an organism's functional intelligence is its ability to accurately deduce the consequence of logical situations in its simulation to improve its decision-making. As my father used to tell me, life's an intelligence test. Functional intelligence is a major determinant of evolutionary success, and many successful species have high functional intelligence. Human functional intelligence is revealed by overall lifestyle. IQ, on the other hand, is a measure of how well one does on IQ tests, and humans with very poor lifestyles can have high IQs. Wisdom is high functional intelligence combined with the ability to extract information relevant to a particular situation from the broadest possible simulation of experience. Free will is the generation of actions in response to, but not completely determined by, external events. Our control system exhibits free will in two ways. First, all computations in the universe are subject to quantum randomness, including those of our own program. This means the actions of our program aren't completely determined by external events. Our robot responds to situations in the external world, but isn't completely determined by them. We have the feeling we are completely free, but because thoughts and plans just pop into consciousness as if our consciousness had those thoughts. But thoughts have to come from where they are computed. And almost all are actually being computed by our planning system at the unconscious level. And then our focus of attention system pops them into consciousness, and our consciousness thinks it had those thoughts. Our degree of free will is the number of possible viable choices we can imagine and select among. Our freedom lies in the richness of our possible choices. Only to the degree we have rich, viable choices are we truly free. Second, our free will is enhanced by a planning system that predicts possible alternate futures and then selects among alternate actions in response. The random quantum basis of this planning and decision-making endows it with free will. Our conscious decision-making system can also slightly override our unconscious decisions, though almost all decisions are actually made at the unconscious level, and consciousness acts mainly in a minor quality control and guidance function. The action system translates plans made by the planning system into actions, from the simplest bodily movements to complex plans involving multiple action sequences. Actions in progress are also actively monitored and corrected by perceptual and motor feedback through the planning and control systems. The focus of attention routine is a specialized subsystem that monitors unconscious processes in the simulation and informs the organism that it's experiencing those processes. It generates the information that threads of representational information in the simulation are being experienced. The focus of attention routine scans the simulation like an adjustable spotlight with a central focus and an area of peripheral illumination. This routine is the basis of consciousness, as explained in an upcoming Deep Reality talk on existence, immanence, and consciousness. We tend to identify with the focus of attention routine and conscious mind, but we aren't just our consciousness in a physical body, but our entire computational system, down through every particle interaction of every one of our biological structures. And we run automatically and almost entirely at the unconscious level. Intuition is the emergence into consciousness of computations being made at the unconscious level. Almost all mental computations are made at the unconscious level in a massively parallel process. The focus of attention routine is a largely linear process that continually pops individual unconscious thoughts into conscious awareness. This happens all the time, but if it has some particular unexpected relevance, we call it an intuition. The biological processor drives and coordinates all the computational processes of the organism and is the source of its biological clock rate. It produces the experience of everything taking place within a flow of clock time at a perceived rate unique to the organism. This is a massively parallel processor. There is too much information being computed within our robots for it to be otherwise. In turn, it's driven by the universal processor that simultaneously computes all the data states of the entire universe. All parts of the control system are overlaid on top of and integrated with the computational processes of the somatic body. The computations of the somatic body are all the actual particle interactions that emergently produce the functions of cells, organs, muscles, and hormonal, circulatory, digestive, pulmonary, reproductive, and repair systems. The operational control system is based in the nerves and brain and becomes an integral part of the processes of the total organism. All these systems work together in computational harmony to operate the entire organism. Together they are the total program of the organism. This entire resulting program is the biological robot of ourself. It's who we actually are. Though all the living computational systems are based on a functional prototype, there are considerable variations across species and individuals, from single-celled organisms through advanced beings such as humans and everything in between. But even single-celled organisms are programs and information structures that include the information of themselves within their environments and have computational systems that enable them to function more effectively than random chemistry, and this greatly improves their survival. This ability to function purposefully rather than randomly is the essence of life and is the key to the success of life. Our consciousness is here to guide and exercise quality control over the otherwise automatic operations of our robot. When we understand how our robot works, we realize we have much greater control over it than we thought, and that it's much more intelligent and capable than we imagined. Our robot's been designed by eons of evolution to optimize our lives within our environments, and we just need to give it a chance to fulfill its purpose. This is done by giving it the best possible care and guiding but not hindering its own intelligent and capable operations. Just by lovingly directing it towards what needs to be done and letting it do its job unimpaired, it will usually come up with optimal solutions and actions. Just point it at the problem and let the unconscious work freely to solve it. See what pops into consciousness and encourage this process without criticizing or suppressing it. Give it strong, intelligent, and enlightened guidance and let it do its work. Pose the problems to the unconscious and let it operate and return suggestions to consciousness. Realize your robot's purpose is to serve you and optimize your existence, and that it's enormously intelligent and capable of doing so. We can exercise much greater control if we just actively guide our robot, rather than letting it run on automatic in habitual patterns or forcing it into actions it resists. The key is to break out and try new things and explore new ideas and situations to find out what you and your robot really like best. In this way, we use our robot to gain greater control and improve our lives. Give your robot's planning system free rein to think outside the box and formulate entirely new and better goals and viable options to achieve them. Take the time to analyze how your own robot works and how you can help it work more effectively to improve your life. When we're born, the universe gives us our own robot to operate and carry us around. It gives us the most exquisitely wonderful and highly capable living robot imaginable, and it's up to us to learn to operate it to its full capacity to achieve what we want from our lives. Yet most of us just let our robots run more or less on automatic and sink into a routine of perpetual drudgery rather than taking full advantage of the wonderful robot we've been given. The universe gives us just one single robot to live out our lives within, but we often don't take proper care of it. We don't treat it right, let it rest and repair itself, or do the things that really make it happy and healthy. We don't give it the love and care it deserves. We are riding around in our robots. They are our loyal beasts of burden. They faithfully carry us around throughout our lives with complete loyalty, never leaving our sides. They deserve our greatest appreciation and the best possible care. We should love them and take the best possible care of them and continually reward them for their loyalty and service. We are the robots of ourselves, and together we can live happy, productive lives that have a lasting positive influence on the world. In an ultimate sense, we and our robots are an organ of consciousness and action the universe has created to better know and improve itself. This is our ultimate purpose, and this is the end towards which we should operate our robots. This concludes the Deep Reality talk on the robots of ourselves. Our entire being is an enormously complex computational system, acting autonomously, freely, and purposefully as a running program in a computational universe full of other running programs. We are our programs, continually computing our existence the best we can in accordance with our instinctual imperatives within the real constraints of our environments. We are the biological robots of ourselves. We are free, sentient, intelligent, emotive computational systems programmed by eons of evolution to live out our lives according to our programs. We are fully human, and this is what our humanness is. Stay tuned for the next Deep Reality talk on the real simulation, and subscribe to stay informed.